Good evening. I'm Omar Acevedo, and I'm the Literary Program Coordinator here at the Mark Twain House and Museum. And I'm happy to welcome all of you to this author talk for Raw Dog, The Naked Truth About Hot Dogs with Jamie Loftus. First, I want to thank our sponsors, which include Connecticut Humanities, the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development, Ensworth Charitable Foundation, Bank of America, the Greater Hartford Arts Council's United Arts Campaign, the Hartford, the Mark Twain Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and Travelers. I also want to take a chance to encourage you all to consider becoming a member. All members receive free admission to our author programs, the House and Museum, year-round discounts in the store and cafe, and more. Please let me know if you're interested. I know I overheard that a few of you haven't been here for a while. Before I started at the Mark Twain House last August. I'm a Hartford native, but lived in Massachusetts for a few years, and also hadn't been here for many years since middle school, probably middle or elementary school field trip. And this has just become a really awesome place since 1990s. We're doing really awesome stuff like what we're doing tonight. So consider becoming a member. And I'm the one that brings all the authors. So now on to our guests. Jamie Loftus is a comedian, Emmy-nominated TV writer and podcaster. She's worked as a staff writer on Teenage Euthanasia, Robot Chicken, and Star Trek Lower Decks, and wrote and starred in her own web series for Comedy Central. She writes and hosts popular limited-run podcasts, My Year in Mensa, Lolita Podcast, Cast, and Ghost Church, and co-hosts with screenwriter Caitlin Durante a podcast on the How Stuff Works network called The Bechdel Cast. She has her baby teeth bronzed and loaded into a slingshot. Rebecca Castellani is the co-founder of Quiet Corner Communications, a Connecticut-based content marketing agency serving companies around the world. She has appeared as a recurring guest on Colin McEnroe's The Nose on WNPR for close to a decade, honing her radio voice and pop culture POV. Predictably, she also produces and co-hosts several podcasts, including Mid-Lit, a podcast in praise of unpretentious literature, and Manifest Destiny, a millennial look at the American millennium. Now that I've made the proper introductions, I'll turn this over to Jamie and Rebecca. Thank you.
Okay, blowing it so far. Wow, this is so scary for me. Thank you for coming. Give it up for yourselves. This is going to be great. It'll become very obvious to you that I'm used to doing stand-up because being able to see the whites of your eyes is really freaking me out. But we're going to get through this together. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so grateful that the Mark Twain House is hosting me for my diabolical book about hot dogs. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm really excited. Thank you. Excited. I was like, I can't look at you, and you can't look at me. This is for the people. Okay. So I think we can all agree this outfit makes sense. I'm so stoked to be here and talk to you about my book Raw Dog. I can only do this once, and I found out right as I was calling an Uber to come here. It is a New York Times best-selling book. I learned today. I'm really excited about it. So now my parents will tell people about it. Just great, because my mom is like, I just say Jamie's book because I don't like to say the title. Okay. I'm so excited to talk to Rebecca, but first I'm going to read you the beginning of the book. This is called a word. For a piece of Americana that virtually everyone has been forced to eat in celebration of European colonialism, there is stunningly little written about hot dogs in detail. There are a handful of books written with a swirl of research and love, and the assumption that you would only read a book about hot dogs because you love them. I will relieve you of that assumption. I would like to be a writer who can keep a cool distance from the subject, who can wait like sitting meat and look over at what interests me flirtatiously until it comes to me. That is not what I am like. I want to consume and be consumed by the objects of my desire until they make me sick. I want to puke them back out and rearrange them like tea leaves. I am a terrible flirt and an excellent hot dog eater. Tell me what's interesting about you, and I will put it in my mouth, chew it up, and spit it out later on, never guaranteed to be better than I found it. So think about how you feel about hot dogs right now, and let me know how you feel at the end. This also applies to this show. If it's exactly the same, I promise I will never write another one of these things. My book is about hot dogs because, like anyone, if you ask me a single follow-up question on the topic, I feel very strongly about them. I grew up eating hot dogs boiled when my dad was left home alone with us. Came of age with hot dogs in a wet cardboard container at the bottom of my free with purchase tote bag just in case. Got fired for tweeting about hot dogs after a cart sponsored by StubHub failed to pay me when I handed out lukewarm bacon wraps after a Bruins game in 2013. The tweet said something akin to, say it with me, fuck hot dogs. It's my understanding that the best makers of and writers about food will tell you a story. My grandmother, who was trapped in a mine for 15 years, used to make me this soup. My husband turned into a mermaid and left me for a grad student who made a mean sourdough. Learning how to make ramen at my apartment is self-care, praxis, body positivity, a radical political act, and pottery class. Food is a connector to one's culture in the same way language can be. Something that can launch you back onto a ratty couch during a commercial break where someone's either offering you drugs or a Barbie doll, depending on the year you're dropped into. The feelings some foods hold rattle in your skull, sink into your bones, and release into your toilet. So, toilet heads in the crowd. Some people really can't hear poo-poo, pee-pee, toilet. And I wanted to bring that up at the Mark Twain house. So really think about that. My best friend read an early draft of this book, and she said she'd never seen the word diarrhea so many times in a book. And I took so many out. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story, and you can tell me if it comes out of your plumbing the same shape you took it in. Goes on like that. This is a story about the summer of 2021, when everyone decided the plague had ended, even though people were still dying. The year after Americans had grown so nostalgic for something bad and familiar to them while locked inside that hot dog sales leapt by more than 100%. This is a story about looking for a perfect hot dog and never finding it. Spoilers ahead. And you should know this trip doesn't end well for anyone. Did I mention there were two of us at the beginning? Well, there's not now. He didn't die, we broke up. I traveled thousands of miles with a cat and a dog and a man, telling teenagers around this great nation that I'll have whatever their regular is. I experienced the full spectrum of what it means to spend $75 on a hotel. I fielded questions about the nitrates, questions about the ketchup thing, questions about whether someone's aunt's ex-husband still works at this stall in North Carolina, which he doesn't because he died. I've had arguments about whether it's a sandwich, sure. Whether it's a taco, sure. Whether there's any truth whatsoever to that study that says every hot dog you eat takes 36 minutes off your life. I don't fucking buy it. And I believe it is secretly funded by Big Lettuce. I've had my ear talked off by business owners in it for love of the game, by children of business owners who are in it out of obligation, by an actual child who runs a hot dog stand and makes them with steak, by an exhausted teenager preparing the tiniest hot dog I've ever seen and talking with the guy at the grill. I've seen all the hot dog signs, the neon signs, the distressed wooden signs, the all lowercase chic font signs that tell you a quirky girl just got her trust fund and you'll never believe what business she's trying. The irrationally angry sign saying you'll have to fucking wait a little longer because it would appear the workers don't feel like coming to work anymore. I've become a hot dog snob, met a hot dog snob and wanted to walk into traffic, become a hot dog purist and fell asleep a snob again, all in the space of the state of New Mexico. I've woken up beside them, woken up from dreams of them, waved away sex after eating them, and been reminded of the sex I wasn't having while looking at them. I've seen people of all genders with natural C cups whip their tits out to watch a group of men nearly kill themselves eating them on the 4th of July. I've seen an old biker and a young biker, either about to have sex or have a lovely family outing, share one with their lips dangerously close to each other. That was in New Jersey. I've seen the machines, the goop, the paste, been certain that this would be the video, the person, the texture, the bowel movement to transition me to Brooklyn podcaster veganism, and never been correct. Hot dogs are the kind of American that you know there is something deeply wrong with, but still find endearing. They're presented to people with no money as a filling and affordable alternative to health, all while people with too much money have found a way to charge $15 for them. They're high culture, they're low culture, they're sports food, and they're hangover food, and they're deeply American for reasons that few people can explain, but everyone has been told their entire lives. The hot dog, my hot dog, is the delicious and inevitable product of centuries of violence, poverty, ambition, whispers in human ears, and knives in the throats, shoulders, and legs of cows, pigs, chickens, and if you're superstitious, maybe even the species they're named for. Today, she rolls around at the front of the 7-Eleven, is vacuumed into the gullets of champion eaters, sits beside a flag you are told you love from the time you start to form memories. She is not American at all, and the most American girl you could meet. All marketing, no substance. That's book. That's some real book stuff. Okay, I'm gonna take off this hot dog suit and be a real person, and I'd like to welcome Rebecca up.
Oh, yeah, okay. You're gonna have to vamp while I take off the hot dog suit.
Oh, okay, I will. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Is it blaspheme to put the hot dogs on the floor? I'm gonna put them back here. That feels wrong. Okay. And we will be having a hot dog eating contest at the end of this, which I was not told in advance, so apologies if I booed on stage.
That has happened.
Oh. Yep. So I won't be the first?
No, you won't be making history by throwing up at my hot dog eating contest, unfortunately.
Bummer. Won't be worth it then.
Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting this. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for writing this book. I really didn't have any understanding of what I was getting myself into reading it, and I really loved it. It was absolutely fantastic and darkly funny, and I learned way too much about what's in a hot dog. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for eating a hot dog with me after you learned all of that.
First. So obviously in the book you talk a lot about how hot dogs are a big part of your identity, and we all seem to have a little bit of an American affinity for hot dogs. Mm-hmm. My first question for you is, how did that evolve into a book? How did you get this idea? What was the pitch like? I would love to know.
The pitch was a little feral, a little manic, and it just sort of started like, there's no books about hot dogs, you guys. and you know, the publishing industry, they're like, okay, you know. But no, I've made a number of like limited series podcasts that are really hyper focused on topics that I feel have been ignored or misreported on over the years. And I have had like a Google Doc for the longest time of just like topics I could sit with for 6 months and not want to like walk into the ocean, basically. Sure. And hot dogs was always at like close to the top of that list. And when I was developing this pitch, which was shortly after the vaccine became available, I was sort of told by my literary agent, like, it's a good time to write a travel book. There hasn't been some for a while. And so I was looking at the list of topics that I was always excited about, and hot dogs. I mean, it's a good it's a good trip doing a hot dog trip. It'll make you really sick, but you'll learn about yourself. And yeah, the more research I did, there have been books written about hot dogs. I've read, I think, all of them, not very many, but there weren't any books about hot dogs that were not, I mean, you could find books that are about the meatpacking industry and about its history and about animal rights and all of this stuff. Or you could find books about how hot dogs freaking rule. But you couldn't find anything that like tries to kind of square those. Yep. And so that's what I wanted to try and do with this book. And luckily there were no travel books, so I got to do it.
Well, you did it beautifully.
I had a lot of fun.
So obviously this book is about hot dogs, but it's also about a lot of other stuff too. So much so that I had to write it all down because there's no way I'd remember all this. So in addition to hot dogs, Raw Dog covers a bunch of stuff, including colonization, immigration, cultural identity, labor conditions, factory farming, gerrymandering, the Great Resignation, pickled gender politics, misogyny and competitive eating, and so much more. So I gotta ask, like, did you know that it was gonna be about essentially the American identity boiled down into the microcosm of a phallocentric meat product, or did that sort of develop as you were taking this great hot dog adventure?
I knew based on stuff I'd done before that I'm always trying to be like, okay, this podcast is about Kathy comics, but it's actually about why women should form a militia in the woods. Like, that's sort of like always what I'm trying to do is like talk about leftist politics that I'm really I'm really passionate about, and try to, I mean, even like hot dog, like trying to like wrap it up in something that feels fairly innocuous and is just something that everyone has a strong opinion on and no one really knows why. So I knew going in that I wanted to talk about how it was made. I didn't want to shy away from that. I did not research that before the trip or I wouldn't have left my house. But I knew it was going to be a travelogue. I knew I was going to write about meat production. Mm-hmm. And then everything else was a surprise, like becoming the number one advocate for getting the women's eating contest on the 4th of July back on ESPN, because it's currently on ESPN 3.
That enraged me.
Nasty.
That was the angriest I got. I mean, the disgusting, visceral hot dog descriptions were bad, but like that really sent me.
It's ridiculous. And it wasn't always that way. That started in 2011. It used to be an all genders contest because everyone has mouths, like
it's like the least gendered thing you could ever imagine, like eating.
We have to make food binary. Like, it's just so annoying. And
get to the gender pickles of it all.
Oh, I have a whole presentation on gender pickles. I'm sorry.
For a treat.
People love to draw really sexy little pictures of pickles. It's bizarre.
They have no business being this sexy. It's like,
why
bizarre.
Are they this sexy? It's really confusing. And you could get them at the nearest gas station. You could go see these sexy little pickles right after the show if you want.
We can all go together. There's a gas station like right around the corner.
Yeah, an after party where we can go to the gas station and look at pickles. But yeah, I mean, there were so many micro communities within hot dogs. Some that are kind of menacing, and others that are just like Wienermobile drivers falling in love.
So wholesome.
It really like runs the spectrum of like types of people you can meet and how depressed you can feel.
Well, one of the big things for me was I didn't quite realize how regionally specific hot dogs can be, and then how aggressive people can be about hot dog opinions. And the biggest thing for me was the whole ketchup question. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I always thought ketchup was like a pretty standard hot dog topping, but no.
Whoa.
Okay, I've touched a nerve.
People are screaming, crying, and throwing up in the crowd.
What is happening? This is news to me. Can you like unpack why the ketchup? I mean, you're wearing a ketchup shirt, so I know you've got some ketchup allegiance here, but like, what's going on with the ketchup?
I do have ketchup allegiance, but because it's so regionally polarizing, I don't know if I'll leave Chicago alive. Like, it's going to be scary for me going to Chicago.
They've got bad pizza opinions too, though. So.
They've got. Wait, did anyone here grow up in the Chicago area?
Oh,
okay. So that's. Oh, the ketchup retchers over there. Okay. I think when I do my show in Chicago, I'm gonna try to get people to debate me because I think I'm right. Okay. Can I ask you a question? What is the reasoning, as you understand it, for no ketchup? But you can have both. Oh my God.
That was the most somber head shake I've ever seen.
That's it's just is there, or it just no ketchup, there's no reason? But yes it is. It is. I can't wait to argue with ketchup heads. It's or ketchup detractors, because then I went to Pittsburgh, where that's Ketchup City, USA, baby. I was right at home. They have the Heinz factory there. I went in. I was like, "What's going on with Chicago?" And they're like, "We know." And really felt at home in Pittsburgh due to their ketchup-based economy. I asked, because I spent time in Chicago, and I have since I finished the book as well, but I've asked shop owners, I was like, why no ketchup? And it's either there just isn't. Don't be an idiot.
Don't ask.
Or it's all sugar. It's so unhealthy. I was like, it's a hot dog.
What are we talking about here?
What are you talking about? And then, I'm afraid I've had some really scary conversations in Chicago, and I went to, not in fear of my life, but close. And I had to cut this from the book because it's already pretty long. But I did this 2-day course called Hot Dog University in Chicago. That's run by, he's the nicest guy unless you bring up ketchup, and then the devil enters him, and he really tells you you can't, because I went undercover as someone opening a hot dog stand in California. And he was like, look, maybe they don't talk about this in California, but if I see a bottle of ketchup at your stand, I'm going to lose it. Something I love about hot dogs is that there are some makes that are going to be gross to everybody, and those same makes, there's a different person who would die for that hot dog. And it also sort of reflects what the local food culture is. Yeah. A lot of them tie back to the Great Depression and World War I, and it was a food of the underclass. And then in different areas, the hot dogs of the South are very bean forward. They're very wet, and they're often eaten for breakfast, which is kind of amazing. And then in the Pacific, Northwest, you've got hot dogs with cream cheese on them.
Didn't like that either.
Okay, hear me out, though. Hear me out. They're so good. Oh, okay. This is a forum, basically.
I feel like we got to poll the audience at the end.
This is my C-SPAN.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
But my argument for the cream cheese dog, which I am a fan of, is that it is essentially a deconstructed bagel. Toasted bread, cream cheese, some meat on top, often happens in a bagel. So, think about that. Think about that the next time you judge a hot dog. Maybe it's actually a bagel. Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt to argue with that, though I do hate it. So you wrote this, you did your research in 2021. You did this great American hot dog road trip, as every young woman should do at some point in her life.
Yes.
And then you wrote and published this book by 2023, also while going through a breakup, which props to you, because that seems lightning fast to me. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody turning around a book that quickly after doing such an enormous amount of research. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your writing process. Were you kind of writing as you were researching? Didn't kind of start writing until after? What was that like? I come out of, this is my first book. I come out of investigative podcasting and comedy and TV writing, all of which moves really quickly. And so I was shocked that I was given 2 years to do something. I was like, what? I could be dead.
most of the work I've done, and like even work that's, kind of thematically similar to this, I'll finish 12 hours and then it comes out and it's almost like a real time. And so that was something that it's been interesting going back to this book and like even recording the audiobook a year after I finished it, because I'm very used to like interfacing with like my current self of like, well, yeah, I stand by what she said. That was me yesterday. Like, good for her. But it's bizarre. Yeah. Cause I took this road trip, while my relationship was actively failing, which is an interesting way to, put the nail in the coffin of your relationship is eat 200 hot dogs together. But yeah, it was interesting to go back and have over a year's perspective, and it doesn't feel like interfacing with my current self. Sometimes I'm like, oh, buddy, you'll be all right. It's gonna end up fine.
I love that about the book though, because you kind of start off teasing as you read, the relationship doesn't make it, and then it really carries you through the book, kind of wanting the tea, and then you don't necessarily even need it by the end. Like you get the sense, like you're really good about kind of building the feeling without overly telegraphing what's going on in a way that I felt was really compelling and drove me through the book really quickly.
Thank you.
I thought that was really well done.
Thanks.
Another thing I really noticed about the book is that the humor is very visceral and often verges on what I would classify as sort of like body horror humor.
Yeah.
Is this like something that you've been sort of drawn to generally in your career?
Yeah. I was like, I think some of you are familiar with it. If you're not, it's pretty disgusting. And yeah, I love body horror. I love body horror comedy. I've done it for a long time now. It was like I did an event in New York the other night, and my friend was moderating, and she's like, when we met, you were eating dog food. And I was like,
where are you now?
It's true. Like eating hot dog, like not really improved by very much.
Dog food might be better in some cases.
Especially when I was getting started in comedy, I really, really loved body horror stuff and gross stuff, because it felt like, especially at that time, it was like women, especially women women in comedy, Jesus Christ. Women on stage, you weren't encouraged to do anything gross. There were a certain number of topics that it felt like you were okay to, talk about. And I started by doing that, and it just like didn't feel like me at all, because I like nasty stuff. Yeah. And I like eating dog food and like being like, okay, the joke is I'm eating dog food, and then write a joke to get there.
Work backwards from the dog food.
Yeah, and like performance art stuff when I started doing comedy in Boston was so much fun, and the environment there was so loose and bizarre that you could just kind of do whatever. And that reached a point, I think in like 2017-ish, I'd moved to LA and only did body horror stuff, and then I was like, I'm getting sick. I've gotta like, but I was doing these videos online. It was like for like this Warner Brothers owned company, but they're like, the premise is we hurt Jamie. And so I would do stuff where like they had leeches all over me, and that was pretty gnarly. They would have me get colonics on screen. Stuff. And they're just like reached a point where I'm like, I hope people know I can read. And that this isn't the only way I can make a living, which I really wasn't. Like they paid me $75 to have leeches thrown on me before taxes. Like
some people would pay a lot of money for that.
I agree. I kept the leeches as pets, if that counts. But if you don't give them blood, they die. So. Anyway, after a while, I always wanted to be a writer, and then it was like, now I'm poo-poo girl. How do I like meet this in the middle? And so I'd written in TV before. I mostly wrote in animation, and so I started writing creatively there. And then I had worked in journalism before. I used to work at the Boston Globe. I got fired, not for tweeting "fuck hot dogs," but for saying that Betsy Ross should have been allowed to have sex with the flag. So
it's her flag, is it not? That seems fair.
Yeah, not against the law. Last time I checked. But they said it didn't reflect well on the publication. So.
Well, their loss.
Well, it worked out because I fucked off to California and it worked out fine. But yeah, at the time, my parents were like, Jamie, you had health insurance. I know. Anyways, I felt like I had reporting experience and I'd had body horror experience, and they were very separate buckets of my life, and the people over here didn't know about the people over here. And I wanted to blend it. And so over the past couple of years, I've been trying to do that. And sometimes it's through podcasts. But with this, it feels like the closest I've gotten to blending the kind of gross, visceral stuff that I've always liked in performance with the kind of reporting that I love doing and I love reading. So this is an attempt.
No, it's a perfect attempt. I mean, it really does oscillate from feeling like you're going into this deep dive into history and culture and socioeconomic politics and all of the many wonderful things we have to grapple with every day as Americans, but also, telling a really wonderful story and being really funny while doing it. So I think that you really nailed that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So on the topic of body horror, I'm not just going to let this go.
Okay.
What is the worst thing you saw on a hot dog in your travels?
Oh, SpaghettiOs.
That's not okay.
That was a bad idea. And that's on them. Yeah.
Where was that?
That was in, I don't want to call out the bit. I talk about it in the book because they also had lovely hot dogs. And then sometimes a stand or a small business will take a swing and it's horrific. This was a hot dog called the Three Ring Circus in Albuquerque. And they had little pepper rings, and they had onion rings, and then they had SpaghettiOs, just like a jar of SpaghettiOs, lukewarm. It was gnarly.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
I think about that often. Yeah, that was the worst one. And then there's some that sound like they could be, I don't know. There is a place that has since closed, maybe because of this peanut butter and jelly hot dog. Not awesome.
No, didn't take off.
Can't get on board with peanut butter and jelly hot dog.
Oh man, that's awful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with 2021.
Okay.
Rough estimate, how many hot dogs do you think you ate?
On the initial trip, it would have been about 200, and maybe half of those are covered in the book, which was fun. I had such an amazing editor I worked with on this book. Her name is Allie Fisher, and she was so helpful in original drafts of the book. It was just everything. It was all because I journaled and did voice memos while I was on the road. So it was a mishmash of just putting everything together. And so there would often be 5 or 6 paragraphs in a row that were and then I had this hot dog and it was good. And then I had this hot dog and it was good. And she was just play the hits, Loftus. You don't have to tell us about every single hot dog. And so she sort of helped me wheedle out, which ones felt appropriate for the book.
I can't believe there were more. I mean, you were doing 5 hot dog days routinely.
Yeah, you got to get your numbers up.
I was getting vicariously sick reading that. I was I cannot imagine eating 5 hot dogs a day.
I wouldn't eat 5 whole hot dogs a day. It would be a 2 to 3 bite system.
Tell the people about the Jamie Loftus system for hot dogs.
The system is this, and you only need it if you're going to eat 200 hot dogs, so you probably don't need it. But I would have, I would take a bite of the hot dog. My partner would take a bite of the hot dog. We'd discuss. Then we would both take a second bite. We would discuss. And then even though I hate food waste, it drives me nuts, but you can't finish the hot dog if there's 4 more coming, and some might be some might have beans on them. You just have to be really careful. So that's the system. You just don't eat the whole hot dog.
Well, that's fair if it's got SpaghettiOs on it.
Yeah, that one you need.
Did you get 2 bites in that one, or is that a one and done?
Yeah, I was no, I know this is disgusting. This is.
I just want to make sure we're doing okay on time because I really don't want you guys to miss the gender pickles presentation because it really is something special. I think. Okay, perfect. Do you want to do the slideshow or you want to?
Yeah, let's do the slideshow. So I'm really excited to talk to you about gender pickles today. I'm very curious of who here is a member of the Mark Twain House. See, okay. And then the rest of you are just perverts, is that right? Okay, so we're gonna blend tonight, intellectuals, perverts, and intellectual perverts. Oh geez, okay, so I wanted to share some of the reviews I've been getting. This one's, I forgot I put this in here.
Stop. You
So
are
the book has
moron.
been out for a week now, and reviews have been pretty good. But some people are not happy about it. I don't know what they're not happy about, but I'm going to get up so I can read it. This one is an email I got the morning the book before someone could conceivably read it. You can see it is to Jamie Loftus, sent from email. Jamie is a contact.cunts.com. Subject hot dogs. Subject line, you're the moron of contemporary society. So it's not going to be for everybody, right? Okay, let's get that off the screen. The next one, we're gonna skip through this. This is a Goodreads review from a woman that thinks that if I hate America so much, maybe I should move to Russia. Okay, all right. Can go to, one more slide. This one is interesting. This is from my Algebra 2 teacher. Saw a piece on you in The Week magazine. I had you as a math student at Brockton. Great to see you doing well. Congratulations. My ask, work the importance of math into your work. It is a big ask, but people need to hear the message. Hope you are well, Jay Quint. I was like, I got a C in his class. Like, I just don't think I'm an ideal candidate. But there is hot dog math, so someone's doing the work. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you about is anthropomorphized food. I have come across so much of it on this trip. There's so many weird little signs. I'd like to share some of the hits with you before, to warm you up for these sexy little pickles. First, of course, pickles, right? Gender pickles. It all makes sense. But before I get there, I would like to talk to you about a movie. And that's the next slide, I believe. Yes, a movie called...
The poster is so much worse than I remembered.
This is the most binary approach to hot dogs you'll find. This is a movie called Sausage Party. It came out within the last 10 years somehow. And you'll see if you go to the next slide that there's two genders. There's fancy dogs and glamour buns. According to this movie, that is, of course, not true. But let's get a closer look at these glamour buns. It appears that their mouths are supposed to be vaginas. I mean, there's kind of no way around it. Let's take it to the next slide. But what if we made it even sexier, right? What if we gave the vagina bun big boobs and a butt for some reason? This movie was a big hit. It made $200 million. And people saw it on purpose. Okay, next you can see, are there other women foods? Yes, but they are pretty racist. And of course, she ends up with the sausage. That's the next slide. And let's just blow on through that. Okay, but of course, the thing that this movie's most famous for is not paying its employees. Moving on. Hot dogs are aggressively gendered across America. Here you can see, the standard Mickey Mouse situation. You got some with big beefy thighs for some reason. Some have teeth. Some have little outfits. We don't know why. This is the first kind of hot dog sign I would encounter. The other was businesses across the country that called themselves the Dog House, and everyone thought it was their idea, and it was no one's idea. That's the next slide. Oh, wow. Smart move, you guys. I'm interested in hubbies in the doghouse. That seems a bit scary. Okay, this is my least favorite hot dog.
Big reaction.
I've got a real bone to pick with this guy. I don't like this guy. Does anyone look at this guy and think I like this guy? You can clap. It's okay. This is a safe space. Yeah, we don't like this guy. We don't like this guy. He looks so thrilled to be eaten. I think it's really nasty. Let's look at the top, all right? So he's squirting ketchup on his head, and he's, let's get a little closer, licking his hot dog mouth. Can't wait for someone to sink a tooth into him, right? But then there's the bottom. And no one talks about the bottom. He's got little golden sneakers and this undercarriage that would drag on the ground as you walk. It's, thoughts?
No.
Okay.
It's just a no.
I just have a big, does he have socks?
The power stance, the weird bass he's on.
He's like this. I don't like it.
Where is
I
this
think,
from? Where did you find this cursed image?
okay, thank you. You just set me up. Okay, so this is a hot dog statue. It's the most popular hot dog statue in the country. You can find it in front of businesses across the country. I've seen many. They make me feel sick. It costs about between $1,200 and $1,600, depending on how good of shape he's in. Let's go to the next one. So he's very often stolen.
Oh, no.
I think because people don't like him. You know, people don't like looking at him. Stolen hot dog statue returned to West Virginia restaurant owner. $2,000 Big Ween hot dog statue stolen from business in northern Michigan. He's everywhere. He should be nowhere. Next slide. I like how they describe him in the news. The short statue depicts a hot dog licking its lips and holding a bottle of mustard while pouring a bottle of ketchup on its head. Okay, that's accurate. Okay. This is one I saw in Chicago. Okay, let's get a little closer. You'll notice they've painted the ketchup into mustard. And for reasons I cannot discern, broke the other arm off. People in Chicago are feral. I'm so nervous to go there. That is just, and I talked to the guy who worked there. It was his shop, and I was like, what happened to the arm? And he's like, what do you think happened to the? I was like, oh my God.
He looks more menacing with mustard on his head.
I mean, there's no winning. He has ketchup eyebrows. I can't stand this guy. Okay. But when I was writing the book, we started developing the cover very early. No one knew I hated this guy. My cover designer sent me an email, said, no, wait, go back. Go back. Can't believe you blew it. I found this one image I love so much, I couldn't resist mocking up some comps with it. See following pages. He sends me this picture. Now, this is the worst of all. I think we can agree. Whatever is coming out of the jar is white. It's evocative. He appears to be a veteran, or at least a fan of the U.S., and I was speechless because the things that were attached look like this. The next slide are the proposed covers.
Oh, I'm kind of sad you didn't go with
Just
this.
him 12 times. And everyone was on board with this. I felt like I was losing my mind. I was like, why do we want this little pervert on the front of the book? I don't like that at all. Anyways, that's him. Back to gender pickles. So the gender pickles are, you'll probably recognize them. They're from this company called the Van Holten Pickle Company. They make things that I like to call car pickles. Rebecca, are you familiar with the car pickle revolution?
I really wasn't until reading Raw Dog, the seminal work on hot dogs, but I think you might have converted me to the car pickle cult.
Well, they're pickles for the car.
It's just a simple concept, but
yeah,
it hasn't penetrated the mainstream, I don't believe.
It's powerful. There's and if I'm a car pickle fan, but then there's also another person in the car, and that's where there's problems. If there's everyone in the car has to be on board with the pickles. But the most popular car pickle is the next slide, and those are the Van Holten pickles. Oh no, go back. Okay. So most of the Van Holten pickles look like this. They're, genderless, they're free, they're pickles, right? As it should be. But they also have these same pickle flavors, no difference, that look like this. I don't like it. It's a bit menacing to me. And so I wanted to share a short passage from the book about the gender pickles, kind of take them one by one. The first one is Big Papa. That's the next slide. All right. This is a pickle that is all man, which you can tell because he is the lead character, always a man. He is wearing sneakers, girl pickles would never, and he is otherwise completely naked. He's the blueprint, the hearty dill pickle, the Fred Flintstone of the sour cucumber universe. And beside him, without fail, is his wife, Hot Mama. Now let's take a look at Hot Mama. I don't know how surprised you'll be to hear that the gender pickles are pretty sexist. And if others are to be believed, leaning heavily on Latin stereotypes. Hot Mama is the Wilma of the equation, branded hot and spicy in a red package, wearing a string of pearls and a black side-swept wig with bright red streaks that remind me of my young divorced jazz dance teacher from high school. The first woman I had dreams about kissing, except for the others. I love Hot Mama, and I do. I'm a fan of Hot Mama. Next, Sour Sis. Now, this is a sexy little pickle, unfortunately. I regret to inform you that this pickle is a barely legal teenager in a crop top and a miniskirt. And if you do not regret knowing this, please do not email me. Sour Sis, the Van Holtens eagerly inform us, is tart and tangy and sports the same red lipstick as Hot Mama, black leggings, and little yellow shoes. She gazes adoringly at her own tart and tangy reflection in a pocket mirror, and she's right to. Sour Sis is wearing the most clothes of any of the pickles, but is the most erotic by a long shot. She has an hourglass shape that pickles aren't well known for, and wears a blonde wig with a stem launching out of the center like a unicorn's horn. Now, the last one, really buckle up for this one, because the last one is Garlic Joe. Okay. Now, what the hell is going on with Garlic Joe? We need to talk about Garlic Joe. Who Garlic Joe is depends on where your threshold for chaos lies. He is the undisputed Chad of the Van Holten Pickle Expanded Universe, a zesty garlic pickle who wears a crop top that says G.Y.M. What this is an abbreviation for is unclear. Fingerless gloves, workout sneakers, and has dumbbells with onions on either end. He has chest hair. He has chest hair, biceps, an absolutely pantless Donald Duck situation beneath the chest. Garlic Joe doesn't hold the same clear nuclear tie to the family that Mama, Papa insist to, and so a world of possibility opens. Is he hooking up with Hot Mama on the side while Big Papa is at work? Is he the brother to Sour Sis? Is he, my favorite permutation, Big Papa's trainer who becomes the secret but evident love of his life? Do Garlic Joe and Big Papa decide, no, life is too short, Hot Mama deserves to know? Do they take her to the Olive Garden and tell her it's been going on for years and she doesn't deserve to spend the rest of her life living a lie? It's already been so long. Plus, Garlic Joe has stage 1 pancreatic cancer. It's not fatal, but it's certainly a wake-up call. You can tell in the book the second I start watching Grace and Frankie. It's like right here. Last thing about Garlic Joe, it says on the packaging, proudly supports Boys and Girls Club. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Why is only Garlic Joe supporting boys and girls? Of the family, he is the pickle I'd want around a child the least. All right, and that's all I have to say about gender pickles. We don't need the rest of the slides. There is a second section on gender pickles in the book, but you'll have to get it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Do we have time for a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Are there any questions to follow those guys?
Let me get a mic for the audience.
I can give up mine too. You can have my
Hot dogs on stage.
Oh yeah. Oh, we've got
come
hot
on.
dogs on stage. Yes.
Have you ever had? Yeah. It's for the online. Oh yes.
My question is, have you ever heard of or had a carrot hot dog? If you haven't, how does it strike you? And if you have, what are your opinions?
I like it. I like the carrot hot dog culture. Thank you for your question. That's a great question. Yeah, there's carrot hot dogs. I feel like that sort of came out of a lack of good vegetarian and vegan options. I think we as a culture have outgrown the need for carrot hot dog. We have vegetarian and vegan options now that are very good, but I honor the carrot hot dog. Yeah, who am I to judge? Carrot on bread. It's cooked. Yeah. Okay. Crowd does not like cooked carrot on bread. Any other questions? Oop. Up front. Also, what's your name?
Hi,
Hi, I'm Emily. My question is a little bit about your process. So you write a lot about like very personal events that have happened to you really eloquently, and I was wondering like how you handled that from a writing perspective, and like talking to those people in your life about this book.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to be really careful about, and another reason I felt really lucky to have the time and space to write this, so I could, gut check months down the line to be like, is this, how, I mean, especially because there's, during this road trip, my dad had lung cancer, and so I would be sort of starting and stopping to help him and take care of him. And so when I started writing, it was like, he was the first person I spoke with of like, would it be okay to talk about that? And, would you be comfortable with that? And so that was like a conversation that we had. My dad, he's in remission now. He's doing great. And yeah, go Mike. He don't smoke cigarettes. They're like so bad for you. But yeah, conversations with him were really instructive. He read, and he's a writer, so he read early drafts of this book. And then as far as, especially navigating like the relationship stuff in the book, I never wanted it to overwhelm any section of the book, because it's like, ultimately, it's a book about hot dogs. Like, you don't need to know when exactly I'm sad, And I feel like there is sometimes a tendency to like overshare at the expense of what the book is really about. So I wanted to be careful for the book, and I also wanted to be careful for my ex-boyfriend, because he's not a bad person, and I don't think it would have been, even though there were, early drafts that my editor was like, Jamie, this is a journal, try again. And finding the places where it felt like, I could speak honestly about what was going on without turning it into kind of like a diatribe about this failing relationship. So I'm curious how people, feel about it as people continue to read the book, because it was a difficult balance. I feel good about it. And my ex-boyfriend, he's like, I don't think I'm going to read it. And I was like, yeah, sick. That's how we will maintain this friendship. Thanks for your question. Oh, there's someone behind you, actually. Cool shirt.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
I'm Maddie.
Hi.
Which minion would win in a hot dog eating contest?
Kevin.
I agree.
Yeah, Kevin. He's just got the most space. He's very
Makes
tall.
sense.
He's a tall. Thank you for asking a minion question. Oh.
Below.
Beside you. Hello.
Hi. Emily. Hi, nice to meet you. Rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Go for it.
Okay, beef or pork?
Oh, beef.
Steamed or grilled?
Grilled.
Side split bun or top split bun?
Ooh, top split.
Casing or no casing?
Yes. Okay. Now I got her back. I like casing, better snap.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
I
That
work
was
in
that
food
was
sales, so-
electric. Hi.
Hi, I'm Alyssa.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I saw your tweets about the Rhode Island hot wieners.
Yeah.
What? You seemed anti.
No.
I seemed avoidance.
Whoa.
Oh no, not now. It seemed as if you were avoiding them on this road trip.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. I was like, why is everyone yelling at me tonight?
No.
Okay. Yes, I wasn't able to get, so that was actually something that the two main factors for reasons that there are not places in the book. There was nowhere that I was like, I refuse. Like, I grew up, a half hour from Providence. I
didn't know, because sometimes you go to Massachusetts and they kind of hate Rhode Island. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I love Rhode Island, but they're not always wrong.
Rhode Island found dead in a ditch. Wow. I don't have anti-Rhode Island. I love some of my closest friends are from Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island. No, and I went to oh God, the Olneyville, New York style. Like, it's so confusing because with hot dogs, they're like, it's in Rhode Island and it's New York style. And then in Detroit, it's Coney Island style. And then Texas wieners don't, or I've never seen one in Texas. They don't know what you're talking about. It's very confusing. I went to Olneyville afterwards. The reason I wasn't able to go is because the two factors were either COVID, because this was, we were vaccinated, but also the Delta variant was going on during this. So there were often times, and I had to protect my dad. So there were places in New England I wanted to go to that I couldn't because I was kind of quarantined with him. So nothing but love for my Rhode Island brethren. And then I went with him later, and they're great. Yeah. Maybe time for how much? Okay. I don't know. Yeah. See who it goes to.
Mine'll be quick. It's like, I guess, a nonfiction book, and obviously it's a flawed metric, but does the book pass the Bechdel test?
Oh, shit.
It's a flawed metric, so I'm sure it's great, but...
What if it doesn't? That would... I honestly don't know.
The daughter and the young girl, the child labor situation.
Okay.
So there.
All right, good.
Okay, yes, I do. There's a conversation. I almost had a panic attack. Like, I was like, wow, I've been hosting a show called The Bechtelcast for 8 years. Yes, very intentionally so, it passes the Bechdel test. I talk with a young woman, a luminary of the Chicago hot dog community. Her name is Brooklyn, so two named women. And we talk about something other than a man. We talk about the price of a steak hot dog. So, and it is very narratively impactful.
I expect nothing less.
Well, thank you for checking in. That was terrifying. Okay, we pass it down this way. We got someone down here. Wow. I'm shocked it took this long for someone to ask. Wow.
So I have a quick question first. Is the hat fashion brand company too, or just the jacket?
No, this hat is, I styled it myself. It's a ugly hat I had, plus a ketchup pin I got in Pittsburgh.
Brilliant.
Yeah. All right, one more.
Hi.
Hi, I love your shirt. Is that a Robert Pattinson shirt?
Yes. My friend came all the way from Virginia and she wanted to show you her shirt.
Oh my God. Wait. Oh my God, it's the Nicole Kidman AMC ad. Show the crowd. Wow. Somehow heartbreak feels good in a place like this. That's so wild. On this tour, I've been wearing my sweatshirt that says that, but there's no picture of Nicole, so sometimes I'll be at the airport and there'll be like a guy who doesn't know what it's a reference to and is like, really makes me think. Do you have a question? Or you just want to show me the shirt? That's great. All right, great questions, everybody. And to top things off, something I really love and talk about at length in the book is competitive hot dog eating. I think that I actually did fully fall in love with Joey Chestnut. It's like I could fix him, and like for sure I could fix him. I just need a chance. They're working on it. No, but that could change. Okay, so the way I've been ending these readings, usually not in incredible houses of learning, but as the moderator and I will exchange the ancient tradition of a 1-minute hot dog eating contest. But we cannot do it alone. I need 2 people. You don't have to get up. I need someone to hold the time. If there's someone who could set a minute on their phone, please. Yes, what's your name? Jay, hero. Let's give it up for Jay. Okay. And then, you know what? You came from Virginia, so I'm going to give you the most sacred thing of all. Could we actually start to unwrap the hot dogs? Okay. So I'm going to have you... You don't have to join. No one has to join. I'm going to have you do color commentary. Because so if you want to come on up. What was your name again? Abigail. Okay, Abigail, this is a star turn for you. So we have 4 hot dogs outside. Did anyone eat hot dogs before the show? Yeah! Woohoo! Okay, so we have 4 incredible hot dogs. I also had a hot dog before the show, and I'm still doing this. So we have 4 hot dogs. I've done this many times, and I have not gotten better. I've only gotten worse. So we've got 60 seconds on the clock. Do we have all our... Okay, we got one more hot dog out. I'm going to hand it off to you, and you know, color commentary, right? Yeah. I'm an introvert, and I do this every night, you know? So it's an exciting... Okay, let's all be very supportive. And if anyone's mean to me, I'll throw up at the Mark Twain house. I will. Okay, ready? That's for you. And if you can count us down from 3, 3, 2, 1, go.
And they're going. Okay. What the water is very challenging. Okay, yeah. The second bite, okay. There's going to be many crumbs on the ground here. I really hope that if someone has to sweep this up, they get paid double. Jamie's just going for it. Okay, they're both going for it. Okay. More crumbs. Okay, and how much time is left? 20 seconds. Okay, I think they're women supporting women, so they're gonna do it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
We'll let Jamie and Rebecca sort of finish off.
What else would we say?
Yeah. That has to be the classiest thing that's happened this year.
Yeah.
And
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really shouldn't eat them like that. But people do. Joey Chestnut ate 76 of those guys in 10 minutes.
It makes me appreciate him so much more.
Yeah, you're like, we can fix him. We can fix him. That's a real man. Well, that was sort of the big finish. So, thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you so much to the Mark Twain House for having us. Thank you to Rebecca. And give it up for yourselves. Thanks for leaving your house. That's so nice. Yeah, I'll be hanging out and signing books if anyone's going to get a book. And if not, I hope that this didn't make you sick. I hope you had a nice time. All right, have a good night.